Greetings, all you phenomenal human beings who are worthy of love. Welcome to AIS 101, Intro to Native Peoples. I'll be your host, Dr. Thomas James Reed. I also go by TJ. My Oneida name is Leguadio, which means he is a good man. And I do believe that language and culture are very much intertwined. So as we begin this class, I would love to introduce myself and my family's Oneida language. And I would say, Sagoli, Narioliwas, Skanagoga, Skanago, Wugnuktani Wagitalota, Oniada Aga ni Uguaywe ni Leguadio ni Yujux. I just said in Oneida, greetings, what is the news? Are you with peace? I am with peace. I am Turtle Clan. I am people of the Standing Stone, and I am Oneida. My Oneida name means he is a good man. So welcome everyone to this phenomenal class. So excited to learn alongside each and every one of you in the next 6 weeks. Let's get into it. Let me give us an overview of where we're going. Let's first start with this syllabus. And this syllabus I created for you all is in the format of graphic novels. Thought I'd have some fun with it. So welcome to the class. You're a human being who is worthy of love, as you know. My name is Dr. Thomas TJ Reed. I'll be your instructor for this semester. As I said before, my Oneida name is Leguadio, which means he is a good man. Respect, sharing, and love are some of our classroom agreements here. As you can see, I'm holding this eagle feather, which has black and yellow beading, as my grandmother, Eleanor Bailey, an elder in the Oneida Nation, she gave it to me after my graduation for my master's in public administration and a certificate in American Indian Studies from Cal State Long Beach. And we use this when we're doing what is called community peacemaking, sometimes referred to as talking circles or restorative justice, depending on the peoples who are using it and the practices and the protocol. When I was taught it, we would be using an eagle feather, and whoever is holding the eagle feather cannot tell a lie, and everyone you're listening as intently as you are when you're speaking. So it's an honor to be with each and every one of you. My pedagogy, my philosophy for teaching is very much that idea in the Oneida opening prayer, this refrain, this repeat of let's put our minds together, so be it in our minds. So when we go into community peacemaking, whether it is in the GroupMe or is within our discussion forums, I look forward to putting our minds together, so be it in our minds. I encourage you all to breathe, move, and think like you love yourself as you are a human being who is worthy of love. So an invitation, not an obligation right now, but sit up nice and tall, like a string is pulling you through your head. Take the deepest breath of love you've had all day. Breathe in some love. Exhale some love. Grateful for you, grateful to learn alongside you. For the Haudenosaunee peoples, which are comprised of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and the Tuscarora, sometimes referred to as the Six Nations, this idea of having a good mind and being at peace, this meditative state and gratitude state is a very important way to live. It's part of this great law of peace we have as Haudenosaunee peoples. Want to recognize and acknowledge that Cal State University of Long Beach, sometimes referred to as Cal State Pavungna, as that is the Gabrieleno Tongva word for the great gathering place, is occupying part of the traditional homeland of the Gabrieleno Tongva, the Wanyanyo Ahachimen, and many other Southern California Indian peoples. So recognizing that as well. Here are some resources for you all, whether you are brand new to this school or you've been here for a bit, getting close to graduation, some different resources for you here at Cal State Long Beach. Whether you're paying for it, you have scholarships or different ways, I definitely encourage you to utilize these resources. We have our Dream Success Center for immigrant students. You can see the resources there. Our Bob Murphy Earth Access Center for students with disabilities with our information here. Title IX Victims Advocate, you can see has the different resources for which it supports and covers, and you can see the information here. For anybody who needs student emergency intervention and wellness program, whether this is a food pantry or if there's support for pregnant and parenting students, please reach out to Student Affairs if you need housing support or if you or someone else you did. I know when I was at the beach once upon a time, I used some of these emergency services for students, so it's there for you. People got to eat, as one of my good friends says. So it's all good stuff. Those are resources for you or for anyone you know here at the beach. Follow the syllabus. So this is just the graphic novel one, but the one we'll look at after this a little bit more in depth. But definitely just follow that to see the readings to do each week, the videos to watch, and the assignments to turn in. Here are the 5 categories of the assignments for this course and the breakdown of it. Your participation, and that includes the weekly discussion posts, that includes the weekly GroupMe responses for our Community Peacemaking Circle. So it's being active and making sure that you're not missing any of those weeks of class. Your midterm presentation, which is at week 3, is a 2 to 3 minute oral presentation on up to 3 concepts related to the class. We'll talk about that more in a minute. That is 20% of your grade. This cover letter, we'll talk about more, is 20% of your grade. So is this infographic or social media post, and so is this final presentation. So a rubric for our class assignments, you're graded on accuracy effort in staying within this time boundary or page boundary whenever specified. Creativity is encouraged. I want to know what you believe and why you believe it. You don't have to agree with what everything I say or someone else says. However, I do believe that truth has no fear from investigation. So I encourage you to ask questions, not be afraid of asking those questions. Both the midterm and final are presenting on up to 3 concepts from or related to the course, which align with your major or area of interest. And that is, again, can be 1 concept, 2 or 3. You can do it about engineering, fashion and design, mathematics, whatever your major, whatever your specified area of research, or whatever you're curious about. If you're passionate about it, we're probably going to be passionate listening to you. A reminder, you can't give the same speech twice, and be sure to stay within the time boundary that we have allocated, 2 to 3 minutes. For the cover letter assignment, apply for any job you want, right? It can be anything under the sun. Whatever job you end up doing, take the learning from this class into your profession. That's the idea of this cover letter assignment. Also, the social media post or infographic. So if you don't have a social media account, that's okay. You can just create an infographic. Some people create actual social media posts. Some people will create a burner account, so to speak, just for this assignment. And Dr. Milana Karenga, he teaches in African American studies and Black studies here at Cal State Long Beach. He created Kwanzaa, and he has this notion of learning not only for the sole purpose of attaining knowledge, but for the purpose of sharing that knowledge with others. So I think that social media is a great platform, a way to be able to acknowledge, educate, and honor the different issues we're talking about when we're talking about Native people specifically, for the history, culture, contemporary issues, art and religion, and a number of other issues as well too that we'll talk about in topics. So for this, share this 1 page or 1 minute of what you want to remember from this course in the future. You can use any of those, or use Canva for an infographic. My hope and intention is this class helps develop you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, which is one of the interpretations of what is called the medicine wheel here. It stands for many different things. This is one of them, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I'm told it also stands for the north, south, east, and west. A quick thought exercise, if you will. I've been told to think about if you went west right now, and you kept going west, you kept going west, kept going west, what would you eventually hit, right? People are like, oh, the waters. Okay, we'll keep going past that, another body of land. But if you eventually kept going, you would eventually get back to where you are now, right? So these concepts of north, south, east, and west, which seem completely disconnected, are actually all interrelated. And this idea of this stands, I'm told, for all the 4 different peoples of the different ethnicities of human beings. I'm told it also stands for this idea of earth, water, fire, and air, different elements as well. So many different meanings. And I just hope that you learn from this class. We acknowledge, educate, and honor about Native peoples. And I'm so stoked and so honored to have you all here. A quick look at our fancy syllabus. That was the graphic novel syllabus. I do love graphic novels. This one is a resource you'll have as well too in our digital platform for learning on Canvas. You can see a lot of things we already covered. There's going to be a book you'll see on Canvas that you can have and download. All the Real Indians Died Off, and 20 other myths about Native Americans. The key to this text is whatever the book chapter is, the book is going to argue the opposite of that. So it's going to present to you a myth, then it's going to debunk that myth with some scientific and oral tradition as well too. Here's a YouTube link for this semester we'll check out in a moment. Some of those course learning outcomes, again, looking at the history, culture, religion, art, and societies of American Indian people. So a lot of these issues we already covered as well here too. A note, plagiarism, whether it is, I want to know your own thoughts. So I don't want you just to quote or plagiarize, whether it is from a different chat GPT or whether it is from a number of different resources. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to hear you think, and I want to have you own your knowledge and own your learning experience. So I want to know what you believe. Don't want to hear what someone else says. You can quote, you can be inspired by research. That's phenomenal. Use great research, but I want to know what you believe. What is it that you think and why? You don't have to agree with everything I say or someone else says, but I want to know what you believe and why. So as we'll get into it, we'll look at our overview for class is 6 weeks. So it's going to go by pretty quick. So make sure you stay on top of the reading, stay on top of the videos, reach out to me with an email if you have any questions. Here's from that text on Canvas, reading myth 20, number 1 and number 2. Here's the video you're watching right now is this one. And then also the list of these videos here from Prolific Rapper, A Tribe Called Red, and title called Black Snakes, powerful video talking about we are still here as Native peoples. Roots of Lacrosse, this is a film I co-produced and I'm featured in halfway through, talking about how lacrosse is, for us Haudenosaunee people, is part of our creation story, that when this world was filled with water, that there was people playing lacrosse on the other side of the stars, sometimes referred to as the creator's game, the medicine game, the spirit game, They Bump Hips. And it is one of the oldest games in North America. It's also one of the fastest growing in the world as well too. There's 85 countries currently in 2023 that compete in the World Lacrosse Championships. Very exciting, happening in San Diego in 2023, the World Lacrosse Men's Championships. Let us continue here. Should you say Native American or American Indian? Hearing some different professors and speakers talk about that. When in doubt, it's always best to use the tribe of the person you're speaking to. For instance, I'm Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, part of the Haudenosaunee. I often hear the term Native peoples or indigenous, and indigenous can have this term of solidarity from indigenous peoples across the globe. Whenever possible, you can always ask the person who you're speaking with if you're which term people feel comfortable or their preferred term. We hold the rock, looking at some activism of the occupation of Alcatraz from 1969 to 1971, which is done by the Indians of all tribes and the American Indian movement. And I've heard it said that Alcatraz is not just an island, it is an idea, and it is still very much that sense of activism that people will go revisit. I've gone and revisited there for an Indigenous Peoples Days or on a Thanksgiving, this Native American Heritage Day, that people will go and occupy this island again in Alcatraz off the shore in San Francisco Bay to reenact this. But you'll learn a lot more from it in the documentary here as well too. So we go week 2, California Indians and storytelling. Week 3, contemporary issues in your midterm exam, your 2 to 3 minute recorded presentation. Week 4, Native Americans in sports, and you're also turning in your cover letter as well too. Week 5, Native American musicians and infographic. So you're turning in that infographic or social media post. And week 6, your final list of assignments here. And then also turning in your final exam, that 2 to 3 minutes oral presentation as well too. So it's gonna go by quick, people. We're gonna have a good time. Can't wait to learn alongside you. Would love to introduce myself to you as well too. Feel free to take a quick breather right here, take a break, and take whatever you need. But let us continue on here. I would love to let you know a little bit more about me so you can understand the course better as well too. So as we pull up this one, an introduction of self here, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about myself. So again, this is some of the Oneida language. You can see the K's are pronounced like G's, T's are like D's, a number of other different things here. So I gave you my introduction earlier. This is a picture of myself in regalia. And I have, a lot of this was built, all made by family members here. So my moccasins, which I'm part of the Turtle Clan. You can see on my apron here, the Turtle Clan of the Haudenosaunee wampum belt here. Eagle feather fan, very sacred, never allowed to touch the ground. Even when I have mine here, I have an eagle feather box that my great uncle Leonard made for me, so it never touches the ground, always very sacred. This is my ribbon shirt there with the different prayers coming off of it are the ribbons. My gastoe is my headpiece here, and if you turn to the side, it would be 2 feathers up and 1 feather down. That's how Haudenosaunee, or Six Nations people, how we identified ourselves. Sometimes referred to as the Iroquois. This is the French derivative from a Huron word, but we prefer to call ourselves the Haudenosaunee, which translates to the people of the Longhouse. Here alongside me is my grandmother, an elder in the Oneida Nation, and my cousin Norma, who does a lot of my beading for different things as well too, and phenomenal human beings. So I'm also English American, Irish American, German American, Haudenosaunee, finding out more that I have some ancestry with some Peruvian and Inuit peoples as well too. I have a wife and 2 dogs. I'm also a member of the Oneida Nation. Again, that's my name there, Laguedio, for he is a good man. This is my wife and I, phenomenal human being. Her name is Julia. I love her very much. And her mom is from Mexico. Her dad is from Syria. And she's a phenomenal human being. And she is definitely my better half and makes me a better human being every day. Julia's dog, my wife, Sydney Momo Reed, like from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And my dog right here, Mildred or Millie Zero Reed. These are our babies. Love them very much. My education, Southern California human being, is what's called an urban native, when you're a native person living off your traditional homelands. So I'm here on these Gabrielino Tongva, Chumash, and other people's lands around this area. I went to Foothill High School in Santa Ana, graduated in 2008. Went to Pepperdine University for my undergraduate and studied a Bachelor of Arts in Communication with an emphasis on rhetoric and leadership, so for oratory skills. And traditionally, Haudenosaunee people have been orators and lacrosse players. So I find it fitting to continue that tradition myself as an orator and a lacrosse player. I did a program at George Washington University for Native American political leadership in 2014. In 2016, I graduated from Cal State University of Long Beach with a Master in Public Administration, Certificate in American Indian Studies. I got my PhD in Leadership and Organizational Consulting from University of San Diego in 2021. I did my dissertation on Oneida college lacrosse players and our perspectives of the sacred game of lacrosse. And this, in 2023, I was an invited guest to nation building courses 1 and 2 at Harvard Kennedy School. I was a neighborhood city councilman and director of Area E in the Delray, California from 2013 to 2015, and served on the Land Use and Planning Committee when I served as a neighborhood city councilman. In 2014, I interned at the National Congress of American Indians. I tried out for the professional Native American lacrosse team, the Haudenosaunee National Indoor Lacrosse Team in 2015, using a wooden lacrosse stick. And my great-grandfather, Anderson William Cornelius, used to make wooden lacrosse sticks as well too. They say for every time they're holding and playing a game here, there's a game being played in the spirit world as well, which I love that very much. It's a spiritual conduit, like a spiritual antenna. In 2018, I ran for mayor of Rancho Cucamonga. So currently what I do as well too, I'm an assistant professor, 10-year track at Cal State Long Beach here, also known as Cal State Pavuagna in American Indian Studies. I'm an adjunct professor at Vermont Law and Graduate School, teaching restorative justice in Indigenous communities. I am a trainer at the National Center on Restorative Justice at University of San Diego on Kumeyaay territory. I am a restorative justice and community peacemaking practitioner, where I'll go across Turtle Island, which is another word for North America for different Native peoples, to be a practitioner and to put forth the protocol of different community peacemaking in different communities. I'm a program manager for the Haudenosaunee Nationals development teams for lacrosse, for the Native teams that competes on a world stage. I am a member of the Haudenosaunee World Committee for the 2023 World Lacrosse Men's Championship in San Diego. I'm part of the film crew for the film Road to the Olympics by One Bowl Productions about the Haudenosaunee as we make our case for being a sovereign nation at the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles when lacrosse is being played again. And I'm also a lacrosse announcer and broadcaster, so I love to use my voice and talent for the creators game, the medicine game. Some dreams and aspirations I got, I hope you have some as well too, people. Dream big, gotta dream big. I dream of helping free Leonard Peltier from imprisonment. So I hope that someday he is granted, he is pardoned, he is granted clemency, that he would be free to go from a crime we know he did not commit, yet he is still in prison as a political prisoner since 1977. And so free Leonard Peltier, and tell everybody about it. My dream is to become mayor, congressperson, senator, president of the United States, and enact legislative change for the greatest good, for the greatest amount of people. And I want to help heal our world. I do. I want to believe if you want to help heal the world, you help heal yourself first and bring peace to yourself first. But I want to bring peace and healing and love to the world. For fun, as yes, teachers, we do indeed, educators also like to have fun, believe it or not. In video games, a number of them, doing some research right now about Native representation in video games. So I love any and all video games and learning about them. Some representation is done a lot better than others, that's for sure. But I love the medium of expression of video games and the interactive nature of it. Also love graphic novels, as you saw from our first syllabus. Also doing research on Native representation in graphic novels and seeing how powerful and beautiful the medium can be. A quick shout out here for graphic novels is Moonshot, Volume 3, and it's the idea of Indigenous futurism. So an example I like to use, if you're familiar with the film or Marvel Black Panther, this would be an example of Afrofuturism. Wakanda would be that example. So Indigenous futurism is imagining Native peoples generations from now in space, yet still using our traditional ways, traditional engineering, Indigenous knowledge systems to put ourselves, imagining ourselves in the future. And for that, a video game I'd recommend as well too, Never Alone, about this Inuit girl in her pet Arctic fox, and a beautiful story. It plays like a prayer and a meditation, always brings me to tears. Highly recommend it. Available in many of your major video game stores, places to buy video games. I love anything with a board on it, whether it's skateboard, snowboard, surfing, wakeboarding. A picture of me snowboarding here. Love to play lacrosse with a traditional hickory stick. I own many modern sticks, but my preference is the traditional hickory stick because I just feel that spiritual aspect to it. It feels like a ceremony and a ritual every time I'm a part of that. I love language. I love culture. I love learning as many different languages as possible. I speak some fairly fluent in Spanish, speaking some Arabic, know some Oneida as well too, and phrases in different languages. I just love to learn different languages as much as possible. I love movies, TV, music. Favorite TV show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Favorite movie, The Arrival. And I also love to play the drums, both the traditional hand drum, native traditional singing and drumming, and then also modern drum sets as well too. So I love drums. I also love to meditate and do yoga. I find that, again, bringing peace to yourself to bring peace to the world. So it's a little bit about myself, people. So again, if you have not yet, please join the GroupMe. I want you to introduce yourself. If you have a name or preferred name, what your major or career path is, if you know that. what you hope to get out of this class, and something we should know about you. So really looking forward to learning more about each and every one of you. And lastly, I know this is going to be a long one, but you're doing great, people. Keep on keeping on. This is going to be our week 1 video here, our week 1 PowerPoint here for some of the concepts we want to cover. So just in our overview here, recognizing that there's 574 federally recognized tribes. Sometimes you'll see this number between 562 and 574. Over 2,000 tribes here, more than this on what we know today as a modern day United States before what we consider this colonization in 1491. Just in California alone, over 109 federally recognized tribes in California. And there's many tribes this day that they're not federally recognized, they're not state recognized, even though they are still here as a people, even though they still have a language, they have a history, they have a culture, people are still existing as human beings. If they are deemed extinct by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, then they are not able to be recognized as a tribe, even though people are still very much here. So there's hundreds and hundreds of tribes, hundreds that are not recognized that are still here as well too. 2 state recognized tribes in California, one of which is the Gabrielino Tongva Nation. Many of these languages is different as Mandarin is to English. Some have some similar language base, and then some are completely different. Some tribes had different sign language for different areas as well too. My teaching assistant, Millie, she wanted to come say hi as well too. So say hi, Millie. Love you very much. You're the best. Each with their own creation story and belief system. So each of these over 2,000 different tribes, each is going to have a very different, some similarities and something can be very, very different in terms of our creation stories and our belief systems. So again, a key theme here is that Native people are not a monolith. So I always tell people that the last in the 2020 census, I think there was about 7.5 million Native people. And the idea is that there's another few million that did not get counted as well too by the census, just an estimate of that number. And the idea is there's as many ways to be a Native person as there are different Native peoples. So even myself, I do not pretend to speak for all Native peoples. I'm sharing you my own lived experience. I'm sharing you what I've learned and studied and observed through generations of learning as well with my family. Yet at the end of the day, I do not pretend to speak for all Native peoples. So maybe you yourself are a Native person, or maybe you are an ally learning more about this, or you have friends who are Native peoples. I'm grateful to have you in the class, grateful to learn alongside you. But again, Native people, not a monolith. But it's important to learn with respect and this cultural humility. I learn how little I know every day when I learn more every day. So whenever possible, best to use the name of the specific tribe you're referring to. Some graphic novels I'd recommend as well too. 500 Years of Resistance, Trickster, The Mighty Code Talkers. The Navajo, also known as the Dene, which translates to the people, are famous for being code talkers. There were over 33 different tribal nations that were used as code talkers as well. It'd be in the 1970s that would be declassified for this information to be public. But it would be these languages that these Native people were forbidden to speak in these Indian boarding schools, which we'll talk more about in a little bit later on the semester. But the idea is the same language that people were forbidden to speak, that they are now, that they use these languages to win wars. My great-grandfather, Anderson William Cornelius, was forced to attend Carlisle Indian boarding school. The motto was to kill the Indian to save the man. There's roughly between 400 to 500 Indian boarding schools in the United States that ran from approximately the late 1860s to around 1996. And they're referred to as Indian residential schools in Canada as well too, about 150 of those. And my great-great-uncle Joshua was killed at Carlisle Indian School. So very heavy things. I learned restorative justice through my cousin, Eddie Cornelius Grosskopf, the idea of having strength, be able to share our stories with one another, that we don't carry these things by ourselves, that when we come together, we have this intergenerational resiliency and strength. Highly recommend Moonshot volumes 1 through 3, different graphic novels, these anthology collections. I'm Not a Number, about that Indian residential school experience. Redbone, phenomenal. If you ever heard that song, Come and Get Your Love. Maybe you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. This is actually Redbone, Native American band, one of the first Native band to break the top Billboard 100 for songs. Phenomenal hit. It's just some graphic novels I'd recommend. Some other ones as well too. Soldiers Unknown, about some of the California Native tribes and their involvement in different wars. 7 Generations, really powerful look at the idea of historic intergenerational trauma, what this looks like for intergenerational healing, to be the generation that kind of stops and squashes the trauma in its place and continues forth with love and resiliency and peace. So just a few different ones there. I talked about Never Alone, Malacca, another game. The portion of their earnings, they go towards the strengthening of culture, the preservation of the Sierra Tarahumara. Some Indigenous film and TV recommendations. You have a chance to watch Reservation Dogs, available on Hulu and FX. Smoke Signals came out in 1998. Powwow Highway. Incident at Oglala about Leonard Peltier. So free Leonard Peltier, learn more about it. Rumble, The Indians Who Rocked the World. One of my favorite documentaries of all time. Native musicians' influence on music, such as Link Ray, who is Shawnee and invented the power chord, so literally invented rock and roll. People like Mildred Bailey, a key person who is Coeur d'Alene Native peoples, and she was influential in the jazz scene. Number of other musicians as well too. This film here, it's a racial slur, but it's talking about how Native peoples have been seen throughout, oftentimes misrepresented in films, seen as savages, seen as these warlike, as opposed to being these human people who we are. And oftentimes that these stories were flipped, that it was oftentimes these Native peoples were being killed by settlers. And really that we have, or not we, but throughout history, Hollywood has, in different filmmakers of the American West, and putting forth these ideas of Western films, have really portrayed Native peoples almost always as the villain, and the settler and colonist almost always as the hero. So this film talks about that. Spirit Game, Pride of a Nation, about the Haudenosaunee national team. Highly recommend. Had over $1 million budget, took over a decade to make. I am one of the ambassadors for that film. Keepers of the Game, a great one about the Haudenosaunee women, about the Mohawk women playing at Salmon River High School. Shout out to Salmon River, a school I go to frequently for community peacemaking as well too, from the high school to elementary school. Blood Quantum, if you're a horror fan, I'm not usually, but this one is powerful. The Doughboy, if you have access to that film, a powerful one. And Trudell, talking about John Trudell as this activist and thinker. Oftentimes he has been compared by different people as Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle for Native peoples. He passed away in 2015. If you go on our canvas, you can see I put a playlist for you all, this Native playlist with a number of different songs from different genres. I love that experience. That music is a powerful way to learn as well too. So definitely listen to that. We have a playlist throughout the semester. You'll have access to that as well too. It's constantly being updated. You'll see a lot of the videos that we're watching is from that playlist. You can always look for this playlist for more learning as well too. Just talking about Native American influence in space, science and aerospace engineering. Just a quick sample. You can pause and look at these videos and look at these on your own as well too. Love as well too. John Harrington, this Native person who's already been in space as well too. Right now, Olivia Mann, as of 2023, would be in space as well too, another Native person. So very exciting accomplishments by different Native peoples. And shout out to the House of Mouse for making the effort for representation. Alico Cox, she is coming out, she was in this film, she was in a TV series, Hawkeye, in one of the episodes called Echo. She was portrayed in that. There's a new series coming out on Disney Plus called Echo, about the character Echo, and it's from a Daredevil series. So it's a powerful representation having this Native person being in that role as well too. Alico Cox is the Menominee and Mohican nations. Okay, people, invitation, not an obligation. I encourage you all to sit up nice and tall, taking the deepest breath of love you have had all day. Breathe like you love yourself. Breathe in some love. Exhale some love. All right, people. See you in the Community Peacemaking Circle on GroupMe. I like to leave you with these words in Oneida, and they say, Yawanko, kunolukhwa, unugiwa, means thank you, I love you, until next time in Oneida. And lastly, I used to listen to Power 106 growing up in Southern California, where hip hop lives. And on Power 106, there was this one DJ named DJ Felly Fell. And whenever I was having a hard day or a bad day, he would say, just remember, if nobody loves you, DJ Felly Fell loves you. So I'd say to you all, students, and remember, if nobody loves you, Dr. Reed loves you. Have a good rest of the day. Take care, everybody.